Guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel. It's been a minute. So I'm gonna run through 5 things I would do as a skinny guy joining the military. But before I do that, I need to give you some background. So about 3 years ago, I left the Royal Marines after 5 years of service. At the beginning of that, I was an 18-year-old kid and weighed 65 kilos. Here's a photo. I was weak. I didn't have any robustness, didn't have any resilience physically. So not the ideal position to be in. If I'd have known what I'm about to cover in this video back then, it might have been a different story. So hopefully I can impart some of that on you today. So number 1, strength train, lift weights, do it regularly, do it with progression and structure. I lifted weights, I dabbled, sort of, when I was joining the Marines, but not really. I probably did one session a week in college, the last maybe year of my preparation. Nowhere near enough, in short. So as early as you can, past sort of 14, get into a routine of lifting weights 3 to 5 times a week. You will thank yourself no end when you get to my age and have built some actual muscle and built some familiarity within the movements and the exercises you need, and actually built some quality muscular contractions that can take you through military training and take you into later life. You'll also just have a head start on your peers for building muscle. So 3 to 5 times a week. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Full body sessions. Focus on good technique over anything else. Let's not ego lift. Let's not go in and just bench every day and lift as heavy as possible. We need to be making sure that we're being sensible, but we're doing it consistently with good form and ideally with a structure. Number 2, leverage nutrition. I cannot tell you how poor my nutrition was when I was leading up to the military or just before I was 18. I would binge on chocolate fingers. I would have basically 0 macronutrients and micronutrients in my diet and wonder why I'm staying small. If you're someone who is skinny and wants to put on muscle or put on strength or size for the military or just for anything, listen closely. You require calories, and you require them in the form of supplements, in the form of liquid, in the form of good quality food. That's the base of the pyramid. We need to make sure we're in a calorie surplus. 500 calories ideally over your basal metabolic rate. If you are young and watching this, you kind of have no excuse. Outside of those who may have a eating disorder or whatever else it is, you're at school, you have all the time in the world, track your calories, get on to your parents about actually getting some food in the house and start trying to put muscle on, trying to put mass on. Alongside this strength training you're now doing, you need to be in a calorie surplus, you need to be prioritizing protein and good quality foods. Don't do what I did or make the mistake that I did with thinking that I can out-train a bad diet as long as I'm training hard enough. It doesn't matter what I eat, because you can sort of get away with that when you're younger. When you get older, you can't quite get away with it as much. And so making sure that you're being as disciplined and as intentional as possible with your nutrition from an early age is imperative. Number 3 would be stop overdoing cardio. And really what I mean by this is any form of activity that can be classed as cardiovascular activity. So for me, I was training separate, so I was doing 4 to 5 sessions a week, which all involved the cardio, because I thought I need to be smashing myself. If I'm not, at the end of my limit, by the end of every session, it's useless, it's a waste of time. I was doing martial arts twice a week. I was doing football 3 times a week. It's a lot of sessions. As a kid as well, you're just active, right? So loads of sessions, being active at school, being active everywhere else, and not underpinning it with the correct nutrition. You can see where the mismatch is. So please, if you're someone who is super active inside football and hobbies and all the rest of it, which you should be, absolutely, play sport, play rugby, play football, all those kinds of things are fantastic when you're younger. Make sure your own training focuses in, as I said at the start, on building strength and building muscle, because you don't need necessarily that extra focus on cardio. This is a little bit of a double-edged sword, I will say, because you still need to be getting fit, of course. You still need to be putting the effort in and putting the time in to build zone 2, to build VO2 max, all those kinds of things. But I'm speaking specifically to the people who are trying to put on weight here. We need to limit the amount of calories we're burning so that we're not putting ourselves at a massive disadvantage when we're trying to build muscle. Number 4, and it seems like I say this in every single video regardless of the topic, stop spamming bodyweight exercises. Yes, I agree, you want to join the military. That requires you to be good at sit-ups, at pull-ups, at push-ups. I get it. However, please understand this. If you're young and you're skinny and you haven't got the body composition that you want going forwards through your application. This can go for if you're not younger either, if you're in your 20s, 30s, whatever. If you're just doing push-ups and you haven't invested in gym memberships and you haven't invested in a program to try and structure your programming properly, try and structure your training properly, then you can only progress so much. And let me explain. In order to build strength or to build muscle, we need progressive overloads. We need the stimulus to increase over time. Whether that's reps, whether that's volume, whether that's intensity, so load, whether that's tempo, we need something to increase over time. When you're just using your own body weight, you don't have as many variables to pull on, as many levers to pull to increase the stimulus. Take the push-up, for example, fantastic exercise, but if we're looking to get big and strong, it has a limit. And at a certain point, you're just gonna be bumping up against muscular endurance and you're actually gonna be out of the hypertrophy zone anyway, which is that 6 to 30 rep mark. So I cannot stress enough the importance of external resistance and getting comfortable at a young age with lifting weights and making sure, again, as I said at the start, that technique is at the forefront. If that means getting a coach for a few sessions, then fantastic. If that means dragging your dad's mate in because he's been lifting for ages and getting him to show you the ropes, then do that. But just get into the gym, get comfortable with the movements and start to progress things over time. Fifth and final thing I would do if I was a skinny guy trying to join the military and I'm trying to put on weight, I'm trying to put on muscle, I'm trying all of these things that I've just said, doing the strength training, I'm getting rid of some cardio within my week, I'm leveraging my nutrition. The next thing we've got to think about is consistency and longevity. So if you do this for 3 weeks out of the month or 2 weeks out of the month, and the other 2 weeks, for whatever reason, you fall off the wagon, or on a micro example, on a micro scale, if you do it for 3 or 4 days out of the week and then 3 or 4 days out of the week you chin it off, you don't do it anymore, then you're never going to grow. As someone who is a self-professed hard gainer, I've always found it crazy when people put on vast amounts of weight in short amounts of time, because that means they were in a calorie surplus, a significant calorie surplus, super consistently for weeks, months, years. It doesn't happen overnight, it happens over years, this kind of thing. So we need to make sure that across the scale of a week, we are in a calorie surplus, 300 to 500 calories over our base every week for years. This isn't a quick fix job. Certainly if you're someone who struggles to put on weight and you're watching this video, you're gonna be someone who needs this to be a consistent habit. As an extension to this, we need to think about changing the inputs when our circumstances change. And here's what I mean by that. When you start to put on weight, your calorie surplus that you had before will no longer be a calorie surplus. It'll now be maintenance. That gap gets closed. So when you start to put on weight, your calorie surplus needs to go up again. You need to bump those calories up again, because all your calories are doing, your basal metabolic rate, or the amount of calories you need to maintain the body you have or maintain the amount of weight you have, is a certain number. Let's say it's 2,000. If that's the case, your calorie surplus might be 2,500. If you then put on 5-10 kilos and you're still eating 2,500 expecting to increase your body weight, well, that 2,500 has now become your maintenance because you're a heavier individual. So make sure as you increase your weight and as this happens over time, you start to be consistent, start to do these things. The reason people reach a plateau is they are trying to do the same thing the whole way through, even though they've changed as an individual. So if you're a heavier person, you need more calories. That's the long and short of it. So I hope that was helpful. I wanted to make that really short and sharp. 5 things I wish I'd have done, because training would have been a lot easier if I'd have been heavier. To put on that extra 5-6 kilos, that extra little bit of strength before I joined the military. If you're currently in the position where you are struggling with these things that we've been speaking about today and you want some help with that, then please click the link in the description. It'll take you through to my one-to-one coaching application form. We will support you with nutrition, we will support you with training and make sure that you get to the end state that you require. Other than that, like, comment, subscribe, all the usual stuff, and I'll see you in the next one.